Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your company, and your position at the company?
Yeah, so I'm Tristan Pollock. My company's Storefront, and I'm a co-founder there.
All right, tell me a little bit about Storefront.
So Storefront is a marketplace for short-term retail space. So we're connecting some of the most creative people in the world to some of the best retail spaces in a lot of the great urban cities in the U.S.
Excellent. Kind of like an Airbnb for storefronts or something like that.
Yeah, so like New York Times calls us Airbnb for retail. We're kind of expanding that functionality on what you can do on the site right now, so it's not purely transactional.
Okay.
But yeah, really making those connections between vacant storefronts, retail stores, galleries, and artists, designers, and brands looking to do temporary things from everywhere from like 1 month to 1 day to 6 months.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming to speak today at the Donor PSFK Future of Retail event. Wondering if there's a specific trend that you're going to be speaking to today.
Yeah, so the big trend we see at Storefront is retail becoming this community experiential thing. And that's, creating an entire block of retail neighbors that kind of vibe off each other. It's creating a space that is continually innovating and having new experiences. It could be events, it could be art book signings, it could be DJs, this basically retail is becoming this thing that it needs to be a destination and you're going there for a purpose, and it's because it's staying fresh. It's not just going there to purchase a product anymore.
That's fantastic. We saw the Toms right down the street here in Austin on South Congress had a coffee shop inside of it, as well as kind of a lounge area, and people were gathering inside of the store. It was kind of living that be the hub philosophy.
Exactly, right? Like I'm not going to go buy a new pair of shoes every day, but I have a way to connect with that brand and that experience, and probably what Tom stands for with their one-for-one giving.
Absolutely. So from your talk today, what do you hope people walk away with?
Well, you'll definitely see it on my last slide, but it's create spaces that matter. So be thoughtful about the spaces you create. I know you're from Detroit, and there's a lot of potential, a lot of spaces that have a lot of potential where someone really creative could come in and start an experience or start a store or start a gallery or just create some of this hybrid space with a coffee shop and local designers and maybe it's like a bar at night so I think there's like so much potential, and every brand and every business could do this in their own way. Whether you're like showing people how to use your app and you're like popping up in a retail store on Valencia and Mission, or you're creating this like weekend pop-up event that Kanye West did when he went on tour in Soho. So I think there's just limitless potential and possibilities to do retail right. And it's really about that experience.
That's great. It sounds like a really great way to test things out, before you like jump in and have to commit with some high dollar infrastructure. It sounds like a really wonderful way to just test a new market or test a new concept.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're seeing, especially with e-commerce brands where a lot of them are starting their companies and their businesses now. Storefront, we're based in San Francisco, so we see a lot of these online tech businesses. They're thinking about retail or e-commerce in different ways. They have, stylists that sell the product. They have pop-up shops that move around monthly, and they don't hold inventory, and it's purely come have an experience, touch and feel the clothes, but you're going to purchase this through our e-commerce site. But they're more and more so we're seeing these businesses build a retail strategy into what they're doing from the beginning, but maybe they don't start doing it till month 6 or month 12. And it's all part of the plan, really, because they're testing the easiest channels first. It's never been easier to start a business online, and then they move into doing retail where they know it's a great customer acquisition channel for them, and it really shows the experience around their brand, and they're building their brand to be that experience.
That's very cool. Tristan, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that retailers are facing today, and what kind of advice could you give them to go about solving them?
Yeah, I think it goes back into that retail as an experience or creating this community hub with your store. We're seeing more and more retailers, obviously if you think of like the big box stores, they were trying to be this destination that you would drive 20 minutes to, and you'd come and you'd purchase these products and you'd leave the store with the products. I think we're seeing that happen less and less, and if I need to buy a product, I can easily go on Amazon. And now even Amazon's experimenting with these pop-up shops and what they're doing is they're basically using it for customer acquisition. They're not holding products, or they're using it to promote other services, test out new ideas, test out new markets. I think they've done 2 short-term stores now in San Francisco and Union Square. So they go to the highest foot traffic areas, and that's basically what all other retailers that are doing retail well now are overcoming, is they're testing things out. Maybe that means they open a flagship store. Maybe that means they move on and they just do these short-term events in different cities where they know customers are buying from them online.
Fascinating. So you've been doing a lot of these pop-up experiences. Can you give us some insight into what makes a successful pop-up?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at storefront and how it works, we're seeing, we opened over 1,000 stores last year. So we're seeing that there's some crucial elements to every time you're opening up a store to what makes it a success. One of those is really location, like the whole location. You need to go to where your customers are. So you need to know your audience and who you're targeting in a city, and you need to know where they're at in that city. And then you need to get onto those streets. And it's more so, it's not even just the neighborhood. It's get to the exact street, or maybe even the side of the street where there's the heaviest foot traffic flow in the area that meets your demographic of the customers you're serving. Along those lines, you can also maybe find new things where you're like, oh, this sort of customer I didn't think was someone that liked our brand, but now we find out they are. So that kind of helps with the pop-up stores. So number one, location. The second, obviously, is retail experience, and what are you creating? Why are people showing up to your store every day versus when it's short term? You're lasting from a weekend to a week, and you're going to want people coming in there every single day. So are you hosting a different type of event every day? Are you hosting other sorts of unique experiences? It could even come down to the retail design, and I think that kind of goes to the last point of really creating your brand experience in a space. And that's, what does it look like? How are people treated? If you look at the Bonobos guide shop, you're setting appointments, you're coming in, you're very well taken care of. And, Andy Dunn's doubling down on that strategy, because it's worked so well to give people access to touching and feeling Bonobos clothes, having a great experience with a Bonobos employee before actually purchasing online.
So it's more than just hanging a shingle and opening a door. You have to think about the experience that you're creating and be consistent with the brand and the brand ethos. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
100%. And then you need to go to those places that fit that brand ethos.
That's terrific. Can you give us one bold prediction for the future of retail?
Yeah. This is the big question. I don't want to circle back around in the experiential thing again, but I mean, I honestly, I feel like that's kind of it. You were mentioning the Tom's store and how they're combining a coffee shop and the store. I mean, we're seeing that with Urban Outfitters. They started to do a coffee shop in the store, but I know they have a lot bigger plans, and they're why are we going to launch? We could launch another 100 Urban Outfitters, but the experience is going to be kind of blasé. So why don't we launch another 20 and do it right and really customize to the local experience? So I think along the lines of retail as an experience and creating spaces that matter, it's really focusing and adjusting to the local community, including local makers, artists, and designers in that dialogue. And so I think that's also retail as an experience is going to customers. It's becoming more localized, and they're kind of empowering the community members that are doing really creative things.
I love that. Well, thanks again for coming today. We really appreciate it, and good luck with your talk later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.